The smell of freshly cut grass mixed with two-stroke petrol, the sound of the AM radio crackling through the kitchen window, the feel of hot vinyl car seats burning the back of your legs in summer. If you grew up in 1960s Australia, you don't just remember these things, you can still feel them, can't you? Back then, life moved slower. We didn't have much, but we had everything that mattered. The streets were our playgrounds, the neighbours were family, and childhood stretched out like an endless summer arvo. Today, we're diving back into 10 memories that only make sense if you were there, if you lived it. These are the moments that shaped us, the little things that made growing up in 60s Australia absolutely unforgettable. Number 1, knowing every neighbour by name. This is the big one, the memory that sits at the heart of what it meant to grow up in 1960s Australia. You knew your neighbours. Not just the ones next door, but up the street, around the corner, the whole bloody suburb. Mrs. Thompson, who always had biscuits. Old Mr. Davies, who'd let you help him in the garden. The family with the dog that barked too much but you loved anyway. People looked out for each other. If you fell off your bike 3 houses down, someone's mum would patch you up and send you home. If your dad needed a hand with something, blokes would just appear, tools in hand, no questions asked. It wasn't nosiness, it was community. It was knowing that you weren't alone, that you were part of something. These days, we barely know who lives next door. We're all locked inside, staring at screens, disconnected. But back then, the street was alive, and you were part of it. That sense of belonging, that feeling of being known and knowing others, it's something we've lost. And if you grew up in the 60s, you carry that with you. That knowledge of what it felt like to truly be part of a community. Number 2, Sunday roast with the family, no exceptions. Sunday wasn't just another day, it was the day. And Sunday meant roast. Your mum would be in the kitchen from early, the smell of lamb or beef filling the house, mixing with roasting potatoes and pumpkin. By midday, the whole family would gather around the table. Grandparents, aunties, uncles, cousins if they were visiting. It didn't matter if you had plans or wanted to be somewhere else, you were there. No arguments, the table would groan under the weight of it all. Roast meat, gravy, peas, carrots, Yorkshire puddings if your mum was feeling fancy, and afterward pavlova or trifle. The meal would stretch for hours, not because anyone was in a hurry, but because Sunday was for this. For slowing down, for talking, for being together. The wireless might be on in the background, someone might tell the same story they'd told 100 times before, but it didn't matter. This was family. This was ritual. And when you look back now, those Sunday roasts, they were the glue. They held everything together. Number 3, the thrill of getting your first transistor radio. Before Walkmans, before iPods, before phones that did everything, there was the transistor radio. And if you got one for your birthday or Christmas, you were the coolest kid on the block. It was small, portable, ran on batteries, and it was yours. You could take it to the beach, to your room, under the covers at night when you were supposed to be asleep. You'd tune into the local station, hear the top 40 countdown, the ads for Piers soap and Chico rolls, the footy scores on Saturday Arvo. Music was suddenly personal. You didn't have to wait for your parents to put a record on the radiogram. You could listen to what you wanted, when you wanted. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Australian bands like the Easy Beats. The sound was tinny, sure, but it was freedom. That little radio connected you to something bigger, to a world beyond your street, your suburb. It made you feel like you were part of the action, even if you were just lying on your bed staring at the ceiling. Number 4, Saturday Arvo at the local picture theatre. The pictures weren't just movies, they were an experience. Saturday afternoon, you'd line up outside the local cinema, usually a grand old building with velvet curtains and a bloke playing the organ before the film. The newsreel would play first, then the cartoons, and finally the main feature. You'd sit there in the dark, surrounded by other kids, all of you mesmerized. Maybe it was a western, maybe a war film, maybe something with Elizabeth Taylor. It didn't really matter. What mattered was the magic of it. The smell of popcorn, the way the projector light cut through the dust in the air, the collective gasp when something exciting happened on screen. There was no pause button. If you missed something, you missed it. You had to pay attention, be present. And when the lights came up and you stumbled back out into the bright afternoon, the world felt different. Like you'd traveled somewhere and come back changed. Number 5. Buying mixed lollies from the milk bar. The milk bar wasn't a shop, it was a destination. After school, if you had a few coins jingling in your pocket, you'd head straight there. The bell would ding as you pushed open the door, and you'd be hit with that smell, a mix of hot chips, minties, and something sweet you couldn't quite name. Behind the counter, rows and rows of glass jars filled with lollies. Musk sticks, Jaffas, cobbers, milk bottles, those little bananas that tasted like fake everything. You'd point, and the shopkeeper, often a Greek or Italian family who'd migrated over and made the milk bar their life, would scoop them into a white paper bag, weigh them, twist the top, and hand them over. You'd walk home slowly, rationing them out, trying to make them last. Do you remember the way the raspberry drops would stick to the bag? Or how the sherbet would fizz on your tongue? Those little trips to the milk bar were everything. It wasn't just about the lollies, it was about belonging. Number 6. The excitement of a new Holden in the driveway. A new car wasn't just transport, it was a statement. And if your old man brought home a Holden, a gleaming EH, or an HR, the whole street knew about it. Blokes would gather around, admiring the paint job, the chrome, the bench seats. Your dad would pop the bonnet, show off the engine, talk torque and horsepower with the neighbours. For us kids, the back seat of that Holden was the gateway to adventure. Road trips to the coast, piled in with your brothers and sisters, no seatbelts, windows down, the smell of hot vinyl and your mum's lamingtons wrapped in foil. You'd fight over who got the window seat, stick your head out to feel the wind and count the kilometres on those long stretches of highway. Holdens were built here, for here. They were tough, reliable and unmistakably Australian. Owning one meant you were part of something bigger. It wasn't just a car, it was pride on 4 wheels. Number 7. Playing in the street until the streetlights came on. There were no playdates, no scheduled activities, you just went outside. The street was your world. Cricket in the middle of the road with a bin for stumps, footy in the park, or riding your bike until your legs ached. Nobody wore helmets. Nobody worried about stranger danger. Your parents didn't helicopter over you. They'd call you in for tea, and you'd come running, sweaty, dirty, and absolutely exhausted. The rule was simple. Be home when the streetlights come on. That was your curfew. As the sky started to bruise purple and the first light flickered to life, you'd hear it, mums and dads calling from doorways up and down the street. And you'd pedal home, knowing tomorrow you'd do it all again. It was freedom, real freedom. The kind kids today don't really get to taste. We were trusted to explore, to make mistakes, to figure things out on our own, and we did. Number 8. The milkman's morning delivery. Before the sun was properly up, you'd hear it, the gentle clink of glass bottles on the doorstep. The milkman had been. He'd leave fresh milk in those beautiful glass bottles with the foil tops, sometimes with a little layer of cream sitting right at the top if you were lucky. Your mum would bring them in before they got too warm, and if you were quick, you'd nick that bit of cream for your cornflakes. The milkman knew everyone on his route. He'd wave, have a chat, maybe even know your dog's name. It was personal. These days, we grab our milk from the servo or the supermarket, packaged in plastic, anonymous. But back then, it felt like the milk came from a real place, delivered by a real bloke who cared. And those bottles. Do you remember taking the empties back out to the step? It was a little ritual, a small connection to the rhythm of the neighbourhood. Simple, reliable, and somehow comforting. Number 9. Watching the telly when there were only 2 channels. Picture this. It's Saturday night, the whole family's gathered around the telly, and you've got exactly 2 choices. Channel 7 or Channel 9. That was it, mate. No remote control, no streaming, no scrolling through 100 options. If you wanted to change the channel, someone, usually the youngest kid, had to get up and turn the dial. And if the picture went fuzzy, you'd whack the side of the set or fiddle with the rabbit ears until it cleared up. We all watched the same shows. Graham Kennedy on In Melbourne Tonight, Skippy the Bush, Kangaroo, Homicide. Everyone at school talked about what happened on the box the night before because we'd all seen it. There was something magical about that shared experience. You weren't staring at a screen alone in your room. You were together, as a family, laughing at the same jokes, gasping at the same plot twists. The telly wasn't background noise, it was an event, and when the test pattern came on at midnight, that was it. The day was done. Number 10. The Dunny Out Back. Let's start with something every Aussie kid knew too well, the outdoor toilet. The dunny wasn't just a loo, it was an adventure, especially at night. You'd grab the torch, check for redbacks, and make a dash for it, hoping you wouldn't see a huntsman the size of your hand waiting on the door. During the day, it wasn't much better. That tin roof turned it into an oven by midday, and the smell, well, let's just say it built character. But here's the thing, everyone had one. It didn't matter if you lived in the suburbs or out in the sticks, the dunny out back was just part of life. By the late 60s, indoor plumbing was starting to spread, but before that, it was you, a wooden seat, and whatever was crawling around down there. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't comfortable, but it was ours. And looking back, there's something almost nostalgic about it, isn't there? The simplicity of it all. Those 10 memories, they're not just moments from the past, they're who we were. They shaped us, made us resilient, made us appreciate the simple things. Life wasn't easy in the 60s. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. It was lived outdoors, with your hands dirty and your heart full. We didn't need much to be happy. A game of cricket, a bike, a Sunday roast, neighbours who cared. That was enough. And maybe that's what we're really missing now. Not the dunny out back or the lack of technology, but the connection, the slowness, the presence. If this video stirred something in you, if it brought back a memory you'd tucked away, share it with someone who was there with you. Someone who remembers the smell of the milk bar, the sound of the milkman, the feel of hot vinyl seats, because those memories, they're ours. And they're worth holding on to. So tell us, what's the one memory from your 60s childhood that you'd give anything to relive, just for one more arvo? Drop it in the comments, mate. We'd love to hear it. This has been Retro Australia, where the past is never really gone.